Hello, Marcus here, and today we're pretty excited to get our hands on the latest firmware update on what's proving to be one of our most popular pieces of production equipment here, and it's the Rodecaster Pro firmware 2.1 release. Now, in April 2020, they gave us a beta version, which a few people have had a go on. It was pretty stable, but they advised us not to use it for production purposes. And now we have got the full and stable version in June 2020. We've got this around the 9th. You should be able to get your hands on it in the next few days as well. So hopefully by the time you're watching this video, it'll be available for you. Now, Rode have been working hard to give us as much control over our podcast sound. Now, the whole point of the Rodecaster Pro was to just put podcasting in your hands, make it very easy for you to plug in, set up, crack on, and focus on the most important thing, recording a great podcast, and also throwing in cool things like effects as well. Now, once you've recorded your podcast, it was also important for you to get your podcast off the desk quite easily. Now, that was something that wasn't as easy, but they've improved over time, and they've actually really worked on trying to give us some great options in this firmware, which I can't wait to get through either. But first things first, we should be looking at the Rodecaster app, which is the app which you download to your computer where you can update the firmware for your desk. Now, what's great is they've managed to tie the app that you use to control your desk and the app that you use to update it all in one place. So we're actually going to do that live. I'm currently running the beta version, and I'm going to upgrade to the latest version. So here's a quick screen recording. I'll make sure that's on. So here we are, we're updated, and it's very interesting to hear that. I feel like I sound slightly different. I feel like they may have made some adjustments to the processors, maybe to tighten them up a little bit, but let's get stuck into those. So as you can see, things look quite normal. We've still got our pads over on the right hand side. They ain't going to go anywhere with the firmware update. No, but everything still looks kind of the same. I like the colors here that they have across the different microphones. I know Rode is also selling some attachments that you can use to help you physically keep track of who's talking on what microphone with the colors. But first things first, let's jump into the microphone settings, which I can press by selecting this, and you can see here that you can still change and select different microphones, which is great if you've got a Rode microphone, because they've got specific settings for each mic, which is great. And if you're not using a Rode microphone, you can always choose condenser or dynamic, and also turn on and off phantom power as required. The level of the microphone here, you can make adjustments here. Right, and you can also turn on phantom power. It doesn't work with this mic. If I turn on phantom power, it actually won't work with this desk. And very importantly, processing. So as you can see, we've got the high pass filter, the noise gate, de-esser, compressor, and effects processing. So what Rode actually recommended, and this wasn't in the beta, is that when you're going through the effects, you should do the high pass, noise gate, de-esser, compressor, and then the effects, and then maybe any extra reverb that you might want to add on extras, which I can't find here at the moment. Reverb, we'll have a look for reverb. Where's that gone? And it's great because Rode recommend their signal chain, so they recommend you use the high pass filter, noise gate, de-esser to get the best out of this mixer. So the fact they've put them in order for you, which they weren't in order before, is really, really good. Where is that reverb? Oh, we've got master compressor, which is interesting. This actually adds a bit of extra compression to the whole mix down, which can just brighten up sound across your whole show, which is really nice to add a double layer of compression as well. Right, so let's see what else has made it over. Before we get onto the special effects, let's see what else we've got in channels here. Smartphone, I just want to see, yeah, you can add a few presets in there as well, like you could before. What's good with advanced settings as well is there, so you can play back your old podcast. I don't know if this will come across and record. Let me play a little tester. Here is some audio so we can see the different settings that they have when you export the files. Once again, here's the audio where you can see the different settings when you export files. Great, that's a nice example there. Sounds, this is great. So let's jump over to a sound effect. So one thing that I did like in the beta is the ability to overdub. So, you know, for example, we've got this sound effect here, which is a heavenly sound effect. Lovely. But what if I wanted to add some voice over that as well, you know? So we can actually overdub. So let's see what happens if we select this. Okay, so let's overdub. So we want to record over it. All right, let's have a look. So that's play straight, play pause, okay. Just having a look at these settings here, right? Cool. Overdub, that's the one we want. Welcome to the Good Life podcast. Welcome to the Good Life podcast. I don't know what that podcast would be about, but that's me changing the effect. So if we come out of here and fire away. Welcome to the Good Life podcast. And that's great. That means we can definitely add a bunch of fun effects and put them together yourself quite quickly and quite easily, which I really, really like. So that's what we've got in the sounds there. Also, you can delete things straight from the desk here as well. You can clear up stuff, which is great. I'd love to see some effects which you could fire off using these pads, as well as the sound effects you can drop. So I'd love to be able to control reverb and stuff, which they teased us with the beta, which I can't seem to find here, which I'm a little bit upset with. In advance, let's go through here. Podcast transfer mode is a mode where you obviously can transfer podcasts to your computer. We will get into that in just a moment. Then you've got brightness, which is the standard brightness controls for your buttons, which to be fair is, it's all right, not that exciting. Boost headphone volume, which you can have up so your headphones give you a little bit more juice. But as you can see, there's a safety setting, and also you can limit the headphone settings, which is very good as well. Bluetooth, you can repair your devices. That's all the same. Audio, multi-track and processing. So you can use, this is good, a mix minus. So when people are calling in or you're using Skype, they don't get an actual feedback of their own voice, which is something great, mix minus. Effects edit mode you can turn off. So if we turn that off and then go back into our effects, I sound different already, don't I? Wow. Audio processing. See, everything looks really simple. There you go. So you can see that it's got all of the presets on for the voice here. Wow, that's different. And that's the difference between when you kind of set your own effects and when you have their own one set up as well. Jeez, that's different, isn't it? Okay. All right. And as you can see for each of the effects, it's just kind of turning things on and off. Effects, what kind of voice have we got? What kind of strength or tone have we got? And some people might still want to do that. Very interesting. Okay, advanced. I believed it was audio processing. Let's put that back on again. All right. And then you can have a TRRS output with a 6 decibel pad, which helps to pad the sound coming out as well. TRS output with a 6. Okay, interesting. You also have the TRRS output with a 6 decibel pad on it, and then I've turned effects edit back on again, so I'm not smashing your ear holes up right now. Multi-track, you can actually bypass audio processing, so no audio processing will go through, which is interesting. Post fader as well, so you can actually, what they do is it records every channel at maximum volume when you record multi-track usually, but then when you use this post fader setting, what it actually does is it records the actual levels of the faders. So if your USB is high at one point and low at another, it'll actually record that in. So it's very interesting if you're using sound effects or beds and a sound effect like some music coming in through USB and a sound effect firing off, it'll actually record those levels, which I think is really, really good. Yes, okay, multi-track via USB, okay, and multi-track recording on the SD card as well. Operations, automatically mute outputs. So if you turn up a microphone and you've got the outputs plugged into the desk, they'll automatically mute. You can disable the level knob as well, which is this knob here. If you want to have a fixed output going to that desk, you can enable yourself for pre-fade listen and broadcast meters as well. So with the broadcast meters off, this is what it kind of looks like, very simple. And then with the broadcast meters on, remember to get to it, you get advanced decibel meters. I think, can you still swipe down? Yeah, you can still swipe down and go to the last settings that you're on as well. Right, anyway, we've done audio, Bluetooth, information, change the date and time. I'm very happy with this. Just a little bit gutted. That they've not given us reverb. I was really happy for reverb last time. So hopefully they'll add that in. So I'm probably going to be jumping back onto the beta version. I think maybe there might be a bit of work to do on these presets when you adjust the manual processing on, but at least you can flip over to your other processing too. So yeah, that's it here on the actual desk. I think it's best we also flip over and we show you a little bit about how the desk performs when it's in podcast mode as well. I may switch microphones because when it's in podcast mode, you can't actually record through the desk, and I don't know if I can wire some audio through it and record direct to my computer. So let's switch over there. If I sound different, it's because we're switching microphones. So here we are in podcast transfer mode. You can see that we can switch it over from podcast transfer mode from the actual app itself, which is great. And here in the export section, you can actually choose various export settings. And what we'll do is we'll walk through a few of them there because you can actually see the advanced settings change. It says MP3, 48K, Spotify. Oh, there you go. The loudness has changed for Spotify. And here the loudness has changed again. Okay, great. And for iTunes, slightly different bit rate. So it makes it best for each kind of export. You can also have your lip sync output too. But let's see what custom looks like. You can adjust here whether you export WAV MP3, bit rate, sample rate, and the loudness, or just turn it off so it comes out as you recorded it, which I'd probably choose most of the time if I was going to run it through an editing software. There you go. Once you click export, chucks you in. There you go. Quickly exports it for you. And then you get your multi-track exports that you can then work with afterwards. It still does take quite a while to export those. I think it took about half an hour for me to export an hour's worth of audio. It can take longer. Sometimes it doesn't take as much time, but it all depends on the settings that you have on the way out. So there you have it. The Rodecaster Pro podcast mode. Pretty happy with all the settings that this desk has on it, except for the reverb that's missing. So that might mean there's a few other desks out there that can pip it to the post at the time being. However, let's see what Rode pull out the bag with their next betas and firmware's upgrade. I know they're very vocal about wanting us to give them feedback, so we'll put a link in the show description where you can do just that. I've been Marcus. Thank you very much, and make sure you check the link in the show description. Get your hands on a Rodecaster Pro and on the pod mic, which I'm currently using to record with as well. Cheers.